Hello everyone. Once again I greet you from the Sacro Convento located in Assisi, Italy. Today I will invite you, before I begin to talk, just to listen and to hence this beautiful view that we have right here behind in my back. It's a beautiful view that you can get from the Sacro Convento looking in the city of Assisi and Santa Maria de Angeli. I believe that this is one of the most beautiful views that you can get from Assisi. Why? Why is a beautiful view? Because from here one can contemplate and go through the whole history of our Holy Father Saint Francis. Over there you will see that is the Valley of Spoleto, from where Saint Francis has the beginning of his conversion, when he went to fight on behalf of the Pope. Eventually, St. Francis came down to the city, to Assisi, goes back to his mother's house with his parents, and began his process of conversion. That process will continue in another beautiful and special place to us, Franciscans, which is located over there, where you see that big church. Now, that big church inside has another tiny church, known as the Porciuncula. This particular church was very important to St. Francis because it was right there where he began his journey to the religious life, his deep conversion. It was also there that he received into religious life St. Clare. It was right there that the friars met in chapter for the first time. And eventually he will finish his life, he will die right there at the Porciuncula. Over there, on the other side of the city, passing those hills, we find another town, Perugia. We had to remember that the city from Perugia, the people from Perugia, I might say, and the people from Assisi were in continual fight. This was one of the reasons why, after St. Francis died, eventually when they finished building the basilica, they had to hide the body of St. Francis for fear that the people from Perugia will take the body away. Although today we can gaze and appreciate the peace of Assisi, it wasn't the case all the time. We had to remember that the time of St. Francis was a time of continual wars. One particular one that began in 1202 was the war against Perugia and Assisi, that especially took place right there before the hills, in a place which is called Collestrada. Now, some people, some wealthy families from Assisi flew away from Assisi and find refuge in Perugia. Among these wealthy families was the family, for example, of St. Clare, who was a very wealthy family of the town. Also, we had to remember that the father of St. Francis, Pietro Bernardone, was a wealthy man. And that's another reason why, when St. Francis was taken into prison, his father was able to pay for his liberation. Therefore, St. Francis was able to leave the prison and then began his process of conversion, thanks to the generosity that his father has for his son. He was able to pay because he was a wealthy businessman that did his business among other business here in Assisi. There are a few important moments in the lives of St. Francis that I would like to highlight because they are connected to special buildings of the area. we had to remember that St. Francis, after his conversion, he rebuilt 3 little churches. One of them is San Pietro. Now it's a Benedictine monastery right behind me. You can't see it, but it's right behind me. Then San Damiano and the Porciuncula, Our Lady of the Angels, which is the church that is right behind my back. Although today you see a big cupola, the tiny little church is inside. So St. Francis began his journey in La Porciuncula. He wants to end there. He wants to die there. Although St. Francis lived here in Assisi, in the top of the hill where I am standing right now, he wants to finish his journey where he began, right there at Santa Maria de Angeli. So when he's dying, the friars bring him down slowly to Santa Maria, to La Porciuncula. As we can see from here, he stops somewhere there with his friars, and from there he blessed the city of Assisi. Then he continues his journey to La Porciuncula, and his wish is fulfilled. He died at the place where he began, at Santa Maria, hence the importance of the Porciuncula. You have to remember that the little church is called Porciuncula, but also Santa Maria the Angels. So when we speak about the Porciuncula or Santa Maria the Angels, it's the same church. And also today is the name of the town. From here, I would like to show you another important part of the Sacro Convento. Right in front of me, you will see a huge wall that goes all the way around. Remember, as I mentioned in another video before, the Sacro Convento was able to expand thanks to Pope Pius IV. Hence, they were able to leave a statue of him right there in his memory, because it was essential for the developing of the Sacro Convento, the help that he gave. Therefore, he was very instrumental, and they left an image of him right there as a memory of his help to develop in the furthering of the building of the Sacro Convento. From here also, I would like to show you a spectacular part of the Sacro Convento. It's a huge wall, it's a fortress. You had to see it with your own eyes. From here we can see the wall. It's a huge wall, as I mentioned to you before. So the lower windows were, in an old time ago, rooms for the friars. Eventually they continued building to what today is the headquarters of the Pope. When I say the Pope, because it depends on who is the Pope, he's able to stay there with us if he wishes to do so. Also, we had to remember that in Assisi in 1997 there was a huge earthquake, and the top of the roof of the headquarters of the Pope fell down. Eventually they rebuilt it, and now it can be used again. But for about a decade it was destroyed, and they began the building, the reconstruction of the roof. So nowadays, thanks be to God, is in use again. As you can see, right above me, today we have a beautiful sun. Now this wasn't unfamiliar to St. Francis. He grew up in this area. Although today we had the Sacro Convento, this is a beautiful forest. St. Francis grew up with the sun, with this spectacular view of the nature. It became part of him. I am sure you're familiar with the Canticle of All Creatures. When St. Francis wrote this beautiful canticle, was at the end of his life. Now St. Francis was blind, unable to see the sun that he contemplated every single day of his life. If you were to be here with me in Assisi, you will understand more than ever the Canticle of All Creatures, because this canticle becomes alive here. There is no need for words to describe. Hence, one can understand this beautiful piece of poem that St. Francis wrote, which will begin the Italian language. It's a canticle praising God through nature. Francis saw God in nature, but that God that began within his heart and went out to nature. Brother Sun, Sister Moon.